Okay, Don, I'm so excited to talk to you today. You directed your first feature. Not that you've directed music videos and shorts, but this is your first feature, director's cut. Can you tell people who are watching this just a little bit about director's cut if they are unfamiliar before we start talking about all the nitty-gritty?
Yeah, so on the surface, it is a slasher about a young band that gets hit up by a music video director to go shoot a music video for free. He lures them out to the woods of Pennsylvania, and under the guise of doing a music video, they think they're getting this product, but they're really going to be part of a snuff music video, and he's going to trap, torture, and kill them. So the story itself
Oh
came
yeah.
from a very real place for me. I was
Oh,
actually,
oh no.
oh yeah,
Sorry.
so
Oh God.
I'm that director that lured kids to Pennsylvania. So, the truth be told, I was shooting a music video during COVID, and I was really I love the urbex world. So I'm always on Instagram and YouTube checking out urbex photographers and videographers, vloggers,
Urban
and
exploration, right? Urbex,
urban
urban. Okay,
exploration.
just making
Sorry.
sure I know in my own head.
Yep. So my homegirl Christine had shot in this one location where I was like, this is gorgeous. I'd love to shoot a video. Where is it? So it was in Shenandoah, PA, like a 3.5 hour ride. We drove
Oh,
all the way out
cool.
there. We shot this music video, and because it was COVID, like no one was really filming. So I got this camera, a really dope Alexa camera, and I rented it, and I'm sitting there on set, and I had this moment where I'm like, wait a minute, if someone busts in the doors right now, they're gonna rob us for everything, and there's nothing we're gonna be able to do about it. And then I'm like, well, if my buddy and Drago and I fight back, no, don't fight back. Then they'll kill us, and then no one will find us for weeks because we haven't had cell phone service. So I start checking like the doors of the building
I
and
loved
just
it. Like,
kind of
oh
like
no, the horror fan in you was like, oh, what are all the
exactly.
possibilities that
So
could
like
be happening?
synapse is going off, and in between shots, I'm just developing this moment that I had. So I go back to the hotel room that night, and I start drafting out what became Mr. Director and what became this film. I chased the script for like 4 months, and when I was done with it, I was like, yeah, I think I got something. And then from there, I built out the layers to the script. Because of my music background, I was
Yeah.
really set on telling a story towards young musicians because I was a musician and then artist manager for many years. And
Oh wow.
I kind of developed the story as like a cautionary tale to young artists. Like, be careful who you're getting into bed with. Be careful about that contract you want to sign. Be careful who you're doing business with because you don't know these people and a lot of them are evil.
Yeah,
So
it's scary.
that's
People, and especially now, it's so easy to get taken advantage of in this day and age. About like anyone on the internet can seem like a valid person. It's so easy to get hurt, either physically, financially, all of the
yeah.
above. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean the part about the music and I've been through the horror stories of this before where I managed an artist years ago where he got signed to a label and shelved. And that's like one of the most frustrating things ever.
Oh,
Just they take your masters and your name and your product and you cannot do anything unless they say so. And that process, it would be your death. So Mr. Director kind of even represents the music business for me as I told the story.
oh, that's so cool. Okay. Because I was so curious about like the music and using music here. And that's really like that's so cool in a way that you were the Mr. Director in a way and like working from that. Well, because whenever you never think like you never hear that. You're always like, oh, I was in a scary situation and this guy inspired me. But you're like, no, no, I could have been the bad guy. And that's
Yeah.
gotta be such an interesting position to put yourself in because you have the power and you understand that power dynamic. So that's
Yeah.
got to be really cool to play with, especially because you've also been a manager and you know how these power dynamics play.
Yeah, also I think the limitations even of what a band is willing to do, where if someone's watching this movie and they're like, are they really gonna like go past all these red flags? And I'm like, oh yeah, they are. Like
They
they
are.
will,
It's true.
yeah.
I have a lot of musician friends who have done stuff like that are like, I just want my break. People will
Mhm.
do anything. And I think it's such a
Yeah.
good, and it's also, I know it's for musicians, but even for artists in general, it's a great cautionary tale of like, read the fine print, get a lawyer to read the fine
And don't be so
print.
desperate for fame, right? I think that that's the big
Yes.
key in today's, if there's a
Yeah.
narrative that's happening right now, it's like kids are so desperate for fame that they're willing to do anything to have it. And the cost, there was an old saying, it's like you have the ability to make any choice you want in life, but then you'll have no choice in the consequences of that. And that's what happens to this band is like, yeah, you can do all these things and move forward, but now the consequences are out of your hand.
Yeah. Well, and we see so many movies about like bands making deals with the devil, and we see that kind of satanic panic narrative so often. So it's
Yeah.
nice to see this kind of taken grounded sounds funny to say, but a little bit more grounded than like a satanic panic Satan thing. So I was curious, like slasher specifically, are you a slasher fan? Is that like a genre that you gravitate towards as a like as a horror watcher?
Yeah, most definitely. I think like
Okay.
that's probably my favorite genre because I love, like you said, it's a little bit more based in reality.
Yeah.
Um, I am totally petrified of the idea that that killer could be someone, not something, right? Even
Yes.
though The Thing is one of my favorite horror movies, it does get trumped
Got
by
that sick
Halloween.
thing to tattoo right
Ah,
here. Love that
amazing,
movie.
amazing. Yeah, so Carpenter is definitely one of my favorites because of his musical background and his integration with that film.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was a band guy my whole life, and when I started shooting music videos, I always knew that if I got into narrative, that I would be able to combine my two worlds. And even with this one, the combination was like so serendipitous because the guitarist that played in the band that I was shooting the music video for in 2021, he scored the whole film.
Oh,
So
that's so cool. Oh, that's
yeah,
so nice. Oh,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
awesome.
But he was worth it. It wasn't like just me lending it to him. I mean, the kid
Oh,
is
yeah.
super talented and he really did a great job with the music. But like that was it. That was like the perfect matrimony of like my world from here and then my world over here. And it works. And I think that, you know, that those types of opportunities can happen more and more often if you just pay attention to your surroundings.
Yeah. Well, and that leads actually to a question. I'm always curious what it's like for filmmakers who have made shorts, made music videos. You obviously have a lot of experience with production, but what was the biggest challenge for you moving into a feature versus the more short form, or did it not feel much different at all? Just longer shoot.
Yeah, it's interesting because you only live in the day. So you could
Yeah.
overwhelm yourself with the gravity of the situation, which is,
It's
leading to
so easy
anxiety.
to. It's
Yeah,
so easy
very
to be
easy.
like overwhelmed, especially on an indie project, overwhelmed with everything you have to do. It can feel a little bit crushing sometimes.
But as you say, time, I think that's the key factor, right? Is that if I did a
Yeah,
short front to back, it took me this much time to raise the money. Well, it took me this much time to raise the money for the feature. It took me this much time to shoot the short. It took me this much time to shoot the feature. It took me
yeah,
this much time to edit the short. It took me that. So really, I think it's just the scope of
yeah,
time that you need to spend on the project. But in a day, you're going to do the same amount of hard work, whether it's,
yeah.
taking meetings for finance or, sitting in the editing booth or working on the score back and forth to make sure it fits. It's just the size of the project is, we had an hour and 30-minute runtime, and the longest I ever had prior to that was like a 24-minute pilot. So,
Oh, wow.
yeah,
That's that's wild. But
yeah,
I wanted to hear more about where you shot. You mentioned that you filmed this in a abandoned mansion in Yonkers. Can you tell me
yeah.
more about finding that and filming there?
Yeah, so
And
so
making it look like it's in the middle of nowhere?
Yeah, so the original location I filmed the music video in, cost wise to get everyone out to PA where I wanted to shoot was just too much for an indie
Are
film.
you in New York?
I'm in New York. Yep,
Okay, cool.
I'm
It's
in
still far. It's still a far drive though. Like even if
it's
it's like
three
it's
and a half
East Coast
hours.
is short, but still it's not close.
Yeah, so it's a 3.5 hour ride from where I live to the location I did the music video.
Okay.
So for a one night stand, it was like easy to shoot the music video and come back home. But if we were to do, 2.5 weeks of filming with a crew and with cast, it was not just the money that it would have costed to keep everyone there. I was worried about the spirit on set and people, missing home, missing their bed, missing their dog. So with that, I said, let's find a
Oh.
location. So we just started like really pounding the pavement and looking around in Westchester and Connecticut and New York City. And my executive
Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
producer, Anthony, who's been a blessing in many different situations, he just hits me up one day. He's like, "Hey, bud, I just drove by this building on North Broadway in Yonkers, and I'm gonna send you a pic right now." So he sends me a pic.
I
Of course,
love how location scouting is literally just driving past, like so often. Even for me, it's like, oh, wait, hold on. Like I love
yeah.
that. You're just like, this actually might work.
Because you have the eye. So if you have the eye, location scouting is just that, going out and scouting and seeing stuff and being able to see the vision that could work there.
Yeah.
So he caught this little location from the street, and we showed up there, and um We just picked a day on the calendar. It was like a Tuesday at 10 a.m. We show up and it's this abandoned mansion, but there happened to be a truck outside. So it just so happened that that day, the property manager had to show the place to someone from a museum to look at an artifact, and they are not there every day. And when we walked up to him and told him we wanted to film, he's like, "Yeah, it's not happening. We lost our certificate of occupancy. We lost our filming ability. We used to shoot movies in here. We did Dexter, Beautiful Mind, blah blah blah."
Oh,
So they had like Jay-Z filmed Kanye music videos. There was so much stuff filmed in this place. So he's like, you can look around the grounds. So we're like walking around the grounds, and I'm like, oh my God. And then we're about to leave, and he comes outside. He goes, listen, if you want to look inside, I'll let you look inside. So we go inside, and now I'm flipping out. I'm like,
oh my God. You're like, no, don't show me because I'm getting too
can't
excited.
too excited. I was like, I have to film this movie in this mansion. So we ended up talking with the guy and with the owners of the facility. We ended up going to the city of Yonkers. We started working out on every logistical piece of red tape that we had. And after like 6 months, we finally got the green light to be able to film in there. So
Oh my God. This movie is really labor. Like, there's so much time that you poured into everything with this movie. Like, just hearing about the pre-production of it all, it sounds like this is such a labor of love. How long have you been working on this on director's cut? Like from like beginning to now.
from the day I was on set, it was June 2021 when I came up with the idea.
Holy cow.
Yeah. So I
That's
think I
gotta
spent
feel
like,
so good to finally like, oh my God, it's a completed product. Not to think of it as a
yeah.
product, but like it's complete and it's out in the world. Like that's such a nice
You have
relief
like
almost.
I think it's like a couple of different moments where you're like, phew, phew, phew. It's like finishing the script felt amazing.
Yeah.
Uh, Raising what was called our out of the gates money, where we knew we can actually start photography.
Yeah.
That was an amazing moment. The first day on set, obviously an amazing moment. Last
Yeah.
day on set, truly amazing moment. And then getting to the color lab, once we were done, because I don't think I really noticed that we were done in the editing booth. But once we got to the color lab, when we had the assembly locked and we watched it on a big screen, that moment. But I always tell people the real moment when I finally like realized that this was happening was on Halloween night. I got a group of friends to go to Regal New Rock, and we were walking up to see the movie, and there was a poster on the wall for my movie that I didn't put there because we did a premiere party, two premiere parties that week, but I knew about all that because I was part of the process, right?
Yeah.
I know when I show up, there's going to be a red carpet, there's going to be this, there's going to be. But when we went to New Rock on Halloween, that poster, that wasn't me. So I felt surprised, and it was really like a cool moment, kind of closure from the June music video shoot
That's
in
so cool.
2021.
That's
Yeah,
awesome. Well,
yeah.
we've talked a lot about like shooting and all this stuff, but you've got a really great cast, especially because you have Louis Lombardi as Mr. Director. How did that go about in grabbing him to play your main villain?
I've known Louis for like 15 plus years. I met him.
Oh shit. Okay, cool.
Yeah, he's from the East Coast. He's a Bronx guy. I'm a Westchester guy. And
Okay.
I knew his cousin, and I had gone out to LA like once a month for many years when I was working as music manager. And I met Louis moons ago back there, and I would constantly hit him up because he was just a real East Coast guy, very open, like down to hang out. I would talk to him about film stuff all the time because I was so interested in getting into the business, and he would always lend me advice. And then when COVID hit, and I was working on this project, he and I were I was writing a gangster project. I'm a true crime writer, also an author.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
I was working on this project for a producer he knew, that he actually helped happen for me. And on the side of that project, I'm writing the script to director's cut, and I'm just looking at Mr. Director as a character, and I'm like, Louis, I think this is for you. And when I started pitching him the idea for Mr. Director, he really liked it. And I started sending him some sides, and he started reading it. And then one day he came to New York. I think the script was maybe halfway done. And I said, I just want to see you like laugh. I want to see. So we put the sunglasses on him. We put a cool shirt on him. And I just filmed this little video of him like sinister laughing and saying a few things. And I was like, he is going to kill this role.
Oh my God, that's incredible. Because I mean, like it is, I never really think about who else could I could cast, but he really does fit it so well. Like just on the poster and in like everything, he just fits the role so well. Like, sorry to Louis, but he really embodied and you got that
Creep.
costuming for like a creepy douchebag director, which like feels so mean to say about somebody,
He's such
but
a nice,
he did a great
fun-loving guy.
job.
Yeah, no, I mean, like Louis is just like a funny. He's one of the biggest ball breakers I know. Like and even on set, like he never let me rest. It was just constant breaking of my balls, and I love that because it's levity on set during some of the most
Yeah.
stressful situations. But like, yeah, the play the creep, I think he really liked it and he played with it, and I was really aiming for, and I hope I landed it with people, was creating a lot of uncomfortable situations with my film. And through Babs's, we talked, Lucy Hart and I talked a lot about that with Babs's role, Mr. Director's role, and then also with the role of Jay Francis with Tyler. I told them, I said, listen, I want you to play a role that people might hate you for, because you're going to be so miserable and whiny and misunderstood. But that's what we wanted to do. We didn't want anything flat, and they really
Yeah,
came, brought that with them when we showed it on film.
that's amazing. Were any of the actors musicians? Like, or were they?
All of them.
Oh,
Yeah.
hell yeah. Was that or like was that a coincidence or was it something you wanted
No,
from these
it was a
guys? Did you
pre-thing. So when we
All
when
right,
we
cool.
spoke with Adrian Stern, who casted the film,
Yeah.
we told her that all of the people that are going to audition for Jay, John, Menace, and Jay, John, Menace, and Juan all had to have musical backgrounds. So not only did they send in the tape from their sides, they also sent in a tape of them playing. And it
Oh,
wasn't even
cool.
particularly to make sure that their dexterity and their performance could be good, because I could work on that. But the real moment for me was that they understood band life and they understood that relationship, because to play these roles and to come off with the chemistry that's believable, you have to have some kind of understanding of what it's like to be
Yeah.
part of that kind of a team. And they really did a great job of having that chemistry.
That's amazing because I know again, band movies are not rare, but it's always so nice to have actual musicians and also who understand those dynamics and like what it means to be in a band and how it's not always fun and how a lot of the time it can be really awkward.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
yeah.
Tyler Ivey particularly was in a band singing, and his band was breaking up while we were filming the
Oh
movie. So like,
no.
it's so meta for him, and like
Oh
it all played off
wow.
well.
That's amazing. So before we wrap up, if you were going to program a double feature with director's cut, what movie would you pair with it to screen?
I was preparing a double feature. Ooh, that's a tough question. Um, hmm. I guess I would just do throwback and do like Return of the Living Dead.
Hell
Um,
yeah. Okay.
you know,
I like
I
that.
think that there's a lot of band movies out there that personally I would not want to play against, because I
Oh, valid.
respect so much and you don't want to be outshined in your little moment. So I think that Return of the Living Dead would be a cool one to play alongside this one.
Hell
Yeah.
yeah. Awesome. Well, Don, thank you so much. Where can people find Director's Cut right now? What is the plan with it? Tell us all about it.
It's still playing in select theaters now. Mainly New York City's been holding it down with amazing ability. Directorscutmovie.com is the website, which would have the Fandango link for tickets. And we're set for streaming sometime in March 2025.
Yay. And everyone links for all that stuff will be in the article and down here. So check that out and check out Director's Cut. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you very, very much.